Thanks for tuning in to the Prime Bookseller Podcast, the bi-weekly podcast discussing all things Amazon bookselling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Prime Bookselling Podcast. I'm Eric and I'm back again, and we're actually going to do a business segment today, which if nobody remembers this is the segments where we talk more on the lines of a business aspect rather than directly specifically talking about Amazon. I just want to reinforce these are important because as an Amazon seller, you are running a business, so you should have some good understandings of running a business. And this one probably should have been the first one we ever did. And I actually went back and was kind of ashamed of myself for not having recorded this one. So I had to go back and actually check to make sure, did we not do one on this topic? Because fail you, Eric. But what we're talking about today is the idea of starting a business out of necessity or opportunity. And now I want to be very clear that one of these ways is the much better way to start the business because you have a much higher level of success rate with it. But this is not to say that you can't start a business in either situation. It's just you're going to hear, because most people, when they hear this topic, they're like, well, I've heard tons of stories that people start businesses out of necessity and they're fully successful. And you're like, that's because they make really good stories when they happen. It's just they don't happen very often. Most of the people fail. So what is the difference between this? So starting a business out of necessity is, I just got fired from my job. I need to make X amount of dollars in the next month or I'm going to lose my house. That is starting a business out of necessity. That is not a place you want to be. Why is that? Because when you start a business, it costs money to start a business. It takes time to start a business and have that business be successful. So if you need money immediately, starting a business is not really the right course of action to take. You should probably be looking at doing something else to get that money immediately and flipping your situation so you can start a business that is out of opportunity. So what is starting a business out of opportunity? It's basically the polar opposite of starting it out of necessity. When you start a business out of opportunity, you look at something and you say, I see there being a potential to make money there, and I would like to be the person to make that money. And then building something, not needing the money, but simply building it because you want to see if you can make the money from it. Why is this more successful? Because, once again, building a business costs money, costs time. When you need money immediately, you don't have money or time to use to build the business. But if you're building it out of opportunity, the idea behind it being is you don't really need the money and you're not pressed for time to get it up and running. So if you hit snag walls, you hit just challenges within the business that delay the starting of the business, that doesn't affect you because you don't really need the money from the business to live. And so as you can see, by following this mentality, you're putting yourself in a much better strategic place to not fail, because you're starting a business by itself is hard. And if you're starting a business and not having any money at the same time, it just amplifies the difficultness of it. Not just because you don't have the capital to invest in the business to make the business work, but also just because, you're stressing. You're looking at the numbers and saying, come on, I need this to pick up because otherwise I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, maybe some people will tell you that, well, if you're doing it out of necessity, it makes you that much more motivated to get the business done. And yeah, there's an argument to be made there, maybe. But at the same time, it's also a level of stress. And the stress level is going to be so much higher because if it's a 60-day make it or break it type thing. Throughout that 60 days, you're going to be extremely stressed about making it or breaking it. I encourage everybody to start a business out of opportunity. So now let's talk about. So hopefully many of you out there listening are already in the position where you can honestly say that, yes, I'm starting this business out of opportunity. And if you are, I think that's great. But I teach entrepreneur classes, and I'd be willing to bet you that, maybe not quite 50-50 are starting their business out of necessity as opposed to opportunity, but it's pretty close to around that percentage. Like there is a good number of people that are going at it as opportunity. I think a lot of people also say that they're starting their business out of opportunity, and when you really break it down, they're probably starting it out of necessity. So, but okay, so if you can definitively say that you're starting it out of opportunity, I'm like, great. Turn off episode. You're good to go. There's nothing more to learn here. But what do you do if you're starting it out of necessity? My advice to you is that you want to take yourself as quickly as possible from necessity to opportunity. So how do you do that? There's two things. One, if you're in a state where you recently lost your job and you're looking at a business as a way to make up for that lost job, my advice would be to you is to go back out, get a job, and start building this in the background. And as soon as you get it to the point where you need it to be, you can quit that job. But for the time being, you should go get a job, have that steady paycheck coming in, know that money's there, and then build this on the side. Another thing you can look at doing is what another podcaster I listen to, some of you may know him, his name's Alex Hormozy. He in a recent podcast had said, nothing but budget dinners to eat. So basically cut out all that exuberant expense going out to eat, doing all these things that cost you a significant amount of money, cut them all out of your life. Because hopefully by simply doing that, you're going to drop your monthly expenses down to the point where maybe you can look at it and say, okay, I've actually shifted myself from needing to start this business out of necessity to starting it out of opportunity, because my expenses have gone down so much that I no longer need any money for my business. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to live like this for an extended period of time, get my business up and running, and then I can go back to my old life at that point. So those are kind of the two target ways to do that, is to get yourself to get yourself over to the opportunity side. Now, there are still going to be some people out there that are saying, no, I'm starting this business out of necessity. And while I think that, I don't know why you would start something in a place where you've probably doubled your chances of failure. And especially with starting a business, I don't think I need to tell anybody that the chances of success are not very high for most people. Most businesses that get started fail within the first 5 years. So to me, if starting it at a state where you're already more disadvantaged than you, so already being at the state of being in necessity, you're increasing your chances of failing. So why would you start it in that position? And hopefully in most scenarios for people, you're just a few steps away from opportunity. And many of you might look at that and say, no, I'm not. But I think if you take a really hard look and start cutting things out of your life, at least, and understand, I know that people hate the idea of giving anything up, but this is a temporary give up, and giving something up that's really important to you might be the best thing you can do. Because like you said, you might be more motivated starting a business out of necessity because like you have to make this work. Well, at the same time, you take something away that's really important to you to put yourself in a mode of opportunity. That's also going to create that's also going to create that push, that desire to get that thing back, which is going to make you that much more fired up to make this business successful. So, I guess the moral of this episode is that I want you to sit down, look at your life and say, okay, where am I starting this business? Am I starting it out of necessity or opportunity? If it's opportunity, I think you're fine. There's nothing more you need to take from this episode. But if you are setting it out from necessity, I would encourage you to take a look at your life and say, what can I do to shift this so that I can honestly say that I'm starting this business out of opportunity rather than necessity. And at least if you say, no, I have to start this business out of necessity, at least take some time to reflect on it and say that, you know what, the percentage of this working is not high to begin with. And I'm only increasing my chances of failure by adding this element to it. So just take some time to think about what you can do to hopefully gain some of that chance of success back. And maybe it's not getting over to the opportunity side, but maybe there's something else you can do to increase your chances of success. You can just look at different things, like maybe the way you develop the businesses. Maybe you develop it much slower and progressively than you would normally do it, because the slower you build the business, the less money that's going into it, the less money also that's coming out of it. But you're not creating a big pool of debt that can get you in trouble or burn you if everything falls apart. So again, this might be on the slightly negative side of starting a business, but this is also one of those things that I think everybody that's into this realm should be thinking about. First of all, just acknowledging which side of the table they're on, opportunity or necessity. And once you've acknowledged that, decide, is this the side I want to be on? And if it is, if you're on the side of necessity and you want to stay on that side but still start your business, thinking about, okay, how can I protect myself and how can I optimize this for my best chance of success? Because in the end, I'd like to think that everybody out there they want to start a successful business. They don't care so much about how fast it grows. They would much rather see it grow and be successful slowly than grow and be successful, burn out and bomb out, and because you grew it so fast or something like that. So it's all about, this is again going back and just taking the moment to think about, where am I and how can I best protect myself in this situation that I am in. So hopefully that little tip helps you out a little bit. If there are questions about this, feel free, reach out. Email is sales@kingsridge media.com. And as always, we do have some awesome sourcing opportunities for Amazon booksellers out there. We have one program that is completely automated, just adds books to your store. We also do have another one where you can have interaction with it and specifically pick the books out that you want. If one of those services is something that would be of interest to you, I highly encourage you to check out the links in the show notes, or just jump over to Kingsridge Media and read about the different programs. There is links to set up a meeting with one of us, somebody on my team, to discuss further to see how we can help you if you are interested in doing that. So with that, I'll wrap this episode up. We will be back with a normal Amazon-focused episode in the next episode, so hang tight with that. And I want to thank everybody for their continued support of this podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Prime Bookseller Podcast. Join us for the next episode as we discuss all things Amazon bookselling.